The Anti-Muslim Inner Circle. Core group of activists attacking Muslims and Islam. Anti-Muslim, anti-Islam activists attacking Muslims and Islam around the world is nothing new. But in the United States, the attacks have been driven by a surprisingly small, and for the most part, closely knit core group of activists. Their influence extends far beyond their limited numbers, in part because of an impressionable legion of right-wing media personalities, as well as politicians who provoke and guide populist anger over what is seen as the threat posed by a mere 0.6% of Americans who are Muslim. It's an agenda that goes far beyond reasonable concern about terrorism into the realm of demonization. Two of the core members of the anti-Muslim inner circle are the father and son team of Paul Gaubatz and his son Chris Gaubatz. Both are associated with the organization the Society of Americans for National Existence, also known as SANE. Paul Gaubatz is the co-author of Muslim Mafia, Inside the Secret Underworld That's Conspiring to Islamicize America. He's also the director of operations for SANE's Mapping Sharia project, which is a privately operated effort to infiltrate American mosques in an attempt to expose radical elements. Gaubatz did so by posing as a person who had converted to Islam. And in his book, he uses documents that his son, Chris Gaubatz, who also posed as a convert to Islam in order to become a member of CARE, in order to support the book's assertion that CARE is a front for the Muslim Brotherhood and that CARE supports international jihad against the United States. Chris Gaubatz was paid $148,898, according to Sheila Musaji of the American Muslim website, while posing as a convert to Islam as an intern for CARE. Prior to that, his father, Paul Gaubatz, was a civilian agent who worked in the Middle East for the United States Air Force's Office of Special Investigations, and Gaubatz made it a personal project of his, and the theme of his book, to prove that the Council on American Islamic Relations, also known as CARE, is linked to international terrorism. And in October 2009, 4 members of Congress, led by Sue Merrick of North Carolina, held a very embarrassing press conference claiming that the book written by Gaubatz revealed a Muslim plot to infiltrate the government. And their hardest so-called evidence was a document showing that CARE had encouraged young Muslims to become Capitol interns, much like any other Washington, D.C. interest group would. And in his own words, in an essay on the Northeast Intelligence Network website, published on June 10th of 2008, Paul Gaubatz said the following, and I quote, "As an ideology, Islam is a terminal disease that once spread is hard to destroy. Once the ideology or this cancer takes hold, it's like trying to remove millions of cancerous cells in one's body. It's not impossible to remove, but very, very unlikely." End of quote. And in another essay published by the Assyrian International News Agency on February 13, 2008, Paul Gaubatz said the following, and I quote, "The political ideology of winning over the West and the world for an Islamic caliphate is not specific to some extremist groups of Muslims. This is mainstream Islam and Sharia, and the goal remains the same. All of the non-Islamic world, and indeed all of the Islamic world, must submit to Sharia. A Muslim who refuses to do so will be killed. A non-Muslim, assuming he is not a pagan, typically a Christian or a Jew, might be given the opportunity to live in a subservient status in an Islamic society and pay a special head tax to prove his submission. But this option is left to the caliph or ruler at that time." End of quote. In summary, it's quite easy for anyone with an unbiased mind to recognize the fact that Paul Gaubatz and his son Chris are both Islamophobes. They are both liars who've presented themselves as reverts to Islam in order to infiltrate Muslim groups, in order to try to demonize and villainize them with their lies and deceptions. The tactic of Pretending to be Muslims in order to infiltrate Muslim groups all over the world is nothing new. The Islamophobes are always at work. And if you believe the words of such people, you just might be an Islamophobe. My name is Kenny Bomer, and I encourage you to be on the lookout for upcoming segments where I'll be addressing other core members of the anti-Muslim inner circle. If you'd like to read more about this, you could check out my book, Consider Islam, Disproving the Patriots of Propaganda, and my upcoming book, You Might Be an Islamophobe If, coming summer 2023. You can find both books as well as my book, Your Right to Self-Identify, My Right to Disagree, Who's Oppressing Whom, all on Amazon, also on Barnes & Noble and other outlets as well. I thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum, and peace be upon you all.